And another video. This is mainstream media warns America will be facing an economic hellscape if the government shutdown continues. Wow, hellscape. Ooh, the fear mongering. Is the mainstream media overhyping the economic impact of the government shutdown for political purposes? Of course they are. Once upon a time, the mainstream media in the United States at least attempted to maintain a facade of objectivity. But those days are long gone. In this case, they want to stir up as much public resentment against President Trump as possible in order to try to force him to end the government shutdown. And when NBC News breathlessly declared that the U.S. would face an economic hellscape if this shutdown stretches on for an extended period of time, their article quickly went viral all over the internet. But will it be? Will it really be an economic hellscape? Here are some things that they say we'll be facing in their doomsday scenario. 38 million low-income Americans lose food stamps. 90% of those are abusers and liars. 6 million face uncertain timetable for collecting tax refunds. 2 million without rental assistance and facing possible eviction. Again, 90% of most welfare users are abusers and liars. They're able to work but choose not to. 800,000 paycheck-less federal employees plunged into dire financial straits. Excuse me. Shuttered parks and museums while overstressed airports cause tourism to tank. Federal court system slows to a crawl. Disaster relief money doesn't get to storm-ravaged areas. Oh, that last one, there's no storm-ravaged areas at this point in time. Yes, things would certainly be unpleasant for a lot of people, but there would be a whole lot of anger around the country. But a scenario does not qualify as an economic hellscape. I would encourage the folks over at NBC News to pick up a copy of The Beginning of the End if they really want to know what the initial phase of a major economic crisis scenario could look like in this nation. The most alarming item on their list is the fact that 38 million Americans would soon lose their food stamps, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That would officially happen by the end of February. And it says, by the end of February, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, run by the by the Department of Agriculture, would be out of funding, meaning almost 40 million low-income Americans would find themselves struggling to pay for food, said Joseph Brusoulas, chief economist for the accounting firm at RSM US. Things would certainly be tough for a lot of low-income people, but there would be a lot of more traffic at shelters, and there would be a lot more traffic at shelters and food banks. But nobody would starve to death. The worst-case scenario would be if mobs of angry people started taking to the streets and rioting in large urban areas. That is definitely a possibility, especially if this shutdown lasts for several more months. But for the moment, most of the focus is on hundreds of thousands of federal workers that are not getting paychecks right now. We are being endlessly bombarded by sob stories about how these workers are suffering after missing one paycheck. So I get what the article is saying. There is no focus on the 38 million people who will be losing their food subsidies and the news is just concentrating on the federal employees after missing only one paycheck. I get it. If people can't handle going a couple of weeks without pay, how are they going to handle things when a real crisis erupts in this country? With no end to the shutdown in sight, some lower paid federal employees have decided that it's time to find a new job. Transportation Security Agency, TSA, in your airports, officers forced to work without knowing their next paycheck is coming are no longer just calling in sick. Now, 18 days into the partial government shutdown, some are resigning, according to Hendrick Thomas, who heads the TSA Council on the American Federation of Government Employees. Every day I'm getting calls from my members about their extreme financial hardships and a need for a paycheck. Some of them have already quit, and many are considering quitting the federal workforce because of this shutdown, the official said in a statement posted to the union's website on Tuesday. I'd like to make a quick comment on that. So not only are the airports raping people for a small seat on their airliner, but they get their security for free. I kind of knew it, but I never put two and two together. I guess I knew it, but never really paid mind to it. Government is protecting airports, which is basically a privately owned business. Don't get me wrong, they're a member of the stock market and all that jazz and whatnot, but really, why is taxpayers, you and I, paying for that security? Shouldn't the airport be paying for its own security? I'm just a little dumbfounded. I just soon get rid of the TSA, because every time they feel my crotch, there's never a happy ending. Get rid of them, I say. I can't say that I blame the TSA workers too much for quitting. It's absolutely miserable job, and the starting pay for a TSA security officer is somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a year. Of course, we don't actually need a TSA at all. Many of us would love to go back to the days before 9/11 where we can just get on the flights without having someone inspect our private areas. Another aspect to the shutdown is the horrifying NBC News is the fact that no new beers are being approved right now. That's a true statement. Beers have to be approved. The Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau is out during the shutdown. That means federal government will not approve beer labels or process permits, which translates to no new beers. At this moment, there's literally millions of people around the world that actually have nothing to eat and no clean water to drink. And this is what we are whining about? I have an idea. Why don't we shut down the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau permanently and let people make beer without having to get permission from the federal government first? As I have proposed, we can save enormous amounts of money by simply shutting down useless government agencies that we do not need. And so I can piggyback off that statement. These agencies are basically designed to pilfer our tax dollars and make a profit off of us. Why do we need permission, being a free country, permission from our government to do many things? It's a free country. Yeah, of course you're allowed to build onto your home, but first you need a license. And really, what does a license mean? It means permission. But I thought it's a free country. Yeah, it is, but there's licenses to be free. You want to go fishing? There's a license. You want to do certain things, there's licenses, permits. That's a better word for it. Permits, and then you get your licensing. Permits to permit you. Fishing permit to permit you, a building permit to permit you to build an extra room onto your house. I can understand building big buildings and whatnot, but there's a lot of useless bureaucracy that is designed just to steal money. It is amazing. That would make far too much common sense in the work in America of 2019. We live in a time when America people expect the federal government to protect them from just about every potential danger that can possibly imagine, that you can possibly imagine. That's what it is. Pay us, we'll protect you. Don't you dare protect yourself, because that's illegal. Look, I don't want to seem completely unsympathetic to the plight of all these federal workers that are being used as pawns in this game of political bricksmanship. Because 78% of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That means a lot of these federal workers are not going to be able to pay their bills. And that would be extremely stressful to anyone. At this point, thousands of federal workers have already begun filing for unemployment benefits. But the mainstream media is blowing things way out of proportion when they start using phrases as economic hellscape. Yes, this shutdown is going to cause some significant pain for a lot of people, but it's definitely not the end of the world. And I'll just show you that picture right there. Maybe I can enlarge that picture, what is being utilized here. Okay, let's see if I can get that thing. How's that picture? The building and the streets, everything's on fire. The bottom line is, folks, there is a lot of agencies that are not needed. Where they claim we're a free country, they claim they work for us, yet we have to go to them for permits and licensing. How many people do you know that are your bosses, yet they come to you to ask permission? Just doesn't make sense when they say we're a free country and the government is for us. They work for us. They're our servants. They always ram that down our throats. We work for you. But like I said before, how many of your bosses come to you to ask permission for anything? Folks, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Also click the little bell icon. It'll notify you every time I put out another video. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.